Good morning, I'm Harley Schlanger from the LaRouche organization with your daily update for August 9th, 2021. I'm going to take up two stories which are not covered for the most part in major media and mainstream media for the obvious reason, because they go against the narratives that the globalists are trying to impose on the thinking of people, either to convince you that what they're saying is right, or to demoralize you by knowing that you don't get the real story, but you can't have access to the truth. Now, these are two stories among many, but the first one is about the situation in Afghanistan, which the media is portraying now as a single story of a Taliban offensive which is about to overwhelm the existing government. And the major aspect of this is that there are many in the establishment, in the Defense Department, the security agencies, the intelligence agencies, and the mass media, which did not want to get out of the Afghan war, which are committed to the idea of these permanent wars. They did everything they could to keep Donald Trump from getting out of them. And now they're attacking the Biden administration, which for whatever reason, probably because these wars are so unpopular, Biden decided to remove the US troops. And now they're saying it's a mistake, Taliban's going to take over, it's going to become a drug exporting country, which it's been even while we were there. So the stories make no sense, but here's what's left out. There's a serious effort to resolve the situation in Afghanistan by cooperation among Afghanistan's neighbors and powers such as Russia, China, and even the United States, to promote economic development as a way of preventing Taliban from using the misery of the Afghan people to support their rebellion against the government. We had on July 31st a Schiller Institute conference on this, and I would urge you to go to our website and read it, because we went through in some detail the kinds of projects that could be carried out that would bring real development to a country which has been the scene of 20 years, actually almost 40 years of continuous war. Now, what's interesting is that there are a couple of development projects which include the United States as part of it, because there are organizations which include the United States which are looking into what can be done to replace war with development. One is a group called the Extended Troika, which includes the United States, Russia, China, and Pakistan. The other one is called the Quad, not to be confused with the Indo-Pacific Quad. This Quad is the US, Uzbekistan, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. Now, the Quad plus Russia is set to begin construction of a 450 plus mile railway connection that would connect Afghanistan to Peshawar in Pakistan. And then this would be extended north to Uzbekistan. It would make Afghanistan a hub for transportation of goods from the extended Silk Road from China into the Middle East and then up into Central Asia. This will connect the landlocked Central Asian nations to the Arabian Sea via China-Pakistan Economic Corridor Project, which includes electricity transmission lines. This is precisely the kind of project which brings hope to people and the prospect for peace, that is, economic development. This particular project is only $4.8 billion. Think of the couple $1 trillion spent on the war the last 20 years. $4.8 billion is a drop in the bucket. And their funding requests to multiple financial agencies, including China-linked development funds, also to US and EU financing. Now, will this happen? It should happen. It's already set to go. The reason it has to happen is take a look at what happened to the peace process between Israel and Palestine that was signed by Arafat and Rabin at the White House in 1993. It was never completed because the World Bank withheld the funds. A small amount of funds were needed to start moving earth on the economic projects that were part of the development protocols of the Oslo Accords. They never got done. As a result, the frustration grew And Sharon came in after the assassination of Rabin, and the result was a new intifada. So if you don't have development, you add to the misery and the lack of hope, which then it produces a fertile ground for terrorists and other anti-development entities, including those who are promoters of British geopolitics, who don't want to see development. They want the conflict and confrontation. And Afghanistan needs a way out. The world needs a peaceful Afghanistan, and it's within reach. And this is something we have to fight for. Now, the second story is another one which you won't find in the mainstream media, but it's Twitter striking again. If Twitter goes against Donald Trump or against a Republican, it's big news on the social media. But now we see another sign of Twitter intervening on behalf of the globalist war party. And so far I've seen no coverage of this. And this has to do with a social media figure named Syria Girl, who developed a large following on social media by exposing the lies that were used to justify the funding of terrorists in a civil war against the Assad government of Syria. She's exposed a number of these lies, including the chemical weapons charges that were leveled against Assad. And as I said, has built a large following. Well, she had a new exposure the other day exposing the lies by the same people about genocide in Xinjiang province committed by China against the Uighur population. Now remember, the Uighur population is largely Muslim, and a small section of that population has been involved in the same kind of terrorist assault that we see in Syria. That is, Uyghurs were sent through Turkey into Iraq and Syria to fight on behalf of the radical jihadists that were trying to overthrow Assad, armed by Turkey, funded by the Saudis in Turkey, and trained and funded by the United States under the Obama administration. So she's been exposing that. And meanwhile, the British, through such agencies as Bellingcat and The Guardian and BBC, have been retailing the lies that Assad was using chemical weapons to justify the continuing funding and support given to the radical terrorists. Now that she's exposed that and come out and said it's not happening, her Twitter account was shut down. Now here's what she said. She said, Twitter will allow you to deny genocide against Palestinians, but will not allow the exposure of the lies against China. So she said, so I've been banned. And she goes on to write that Twitter is censoring her for denying the narratives used to justify wars, such as Iraq's weapons of mass destruction, Syrian use of chemical weapons, and so on. And she concludes that Twitter has become an echo chamber of the U.S. State Department. And in that, she means the State Department, which is committed to these endless wars. This is a very sad commentary that the social media networks that are supposed to enhance our freedoms actually are being used to promote the lies which have promoted the security state, promoted the endless wars, and have attacked those people who are trying to put an end to those endless wars. So this is why it's essential that the American people get the truth and mobilize for that truth. And that's why I would again recommend that you go to the schillerinstitute.com and look at the conference we had on Afghanistan at a turning point, that it can become a center for global economic development against the deployment of imperial geopolitics. So that's my report for today. During the rest of the week, I'll probably be commenting mostly on economic news as we have a conference coming up this Saturday, August 14th, on the 50th anniversary of the move into a speculative casino economy away from a productive physical economy. So join me again tomorrow and enlist your friends. Get your friends and co-thinkers to start watching these daily updates and go to the schillerinstitute.com. Thanks and see you tomorrow.